is Notsam Wrestling.
Introducing your host from New York, here is Sam Roberts.
For the first time on Notsam Wrestling, finally in the Notsam studio, I am blessed, I would say.
Accurate.
Ladies and gentlemen, somebody who had one of the best 2018s that a person, especially in wrestling, could probably have. MJF is here.
Oh,
What's going on? Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
Yeah, bit of an understatement there, but I'll take it.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let's go over your 2018.
Please.
All In.
Yeah.
That's probably number one.
Sure.
Stone Cold Podcast. That's a huge
I don't want to talk about that.
You don't
schmuck.
like the
Steve. Let's not talk about Steve.
Well, you don't want to put over other
he
wrestlers.
doesn't deserve it.
I see.
Continue.
Okay.
I'm enjoying this list. This is a fun list.
I mean, watching you in MLW.
Sure.
CZW.
Sure.
Beyond. I mean, everywhere.
I mean, literally coast to coast, across the border and across the pond. I'm not going to lie to you, Sam.
Mm-hmm. Please don't.
When I was told that I was going to have to do this interview, I wasn't too happy about it.
Who told you were going to have to?
So you don't act like you weren't the one that talked to my publicist. We're both fully aware of what happened here.
Right.
And she came to me. She said, look, I need you to do this podcast. He's offering us a decent chunk of change for you to make an appearance. And
People don't know. A lot of wrestlers don't realize I'm paying for interviews. I wish you wouldn't blow me up like that.
Sorry. Let's face facts here. It's not like it's an awful lot of money. I'm kind of pretty much doing you a huge solid right now.
I appreciate it.
But so she confronted me. She said, I really need you to do this podcast. And I said, look, I've heard this bozo before. He walks up to people. He says, what's the haps?
That's true.
Not a real phrase. Completely idiotic. Kind of looks like a life-size troll doll. But then she goes, you know what? Maybe it's not a good idea because I heard a rumor. And I go, oh, okay. Now I'm intrigued. She goes, well, I heard that this man was asked by Curt Hawkins and Zack Ryder to lend some money for a toy drive. And I said, ugh, please tell me he didn't give money to snot-nosed brats. I mean, that would disgust me. And she said, no, the issue is that he didn't.
That's true.
I said, I'll absolutely do this
good.
podcast.
That's good.
Because who wants to give handouts like that to poor children?
Right.
They don't deserve it. And work for your money, Sam. Work for it.
And first of all, that's true.
Yeah.
And second of all, for the record, Curt Hawkins and Zack Ryder, they said on their podcast, hey, we're doing a charity thing.
Sure.
And then after it was over, they were like, hey, we asked Sam and he didn't give us anything. And I was like, I got nothing to do with you guys.
Look, okay, first of all.
Again, not trying to put over.
No. They don't, look, the Majors Brothers, what is it? Is that what it's called?
The Major Brothers, right?
Yeah, Paget.
That's it.
It's a decent little product, but at the end of the day, to ask somebody to take money out of their pocket.
Right.
And give it to somebody you don't even know because what? They don't have toys for Christmas?
Right.
Who cares?
That's actually a good point.
Is it your problem?
No,
I know it's not my problem.
It's certainly not my problem.
So that's why I was excited to come here because me and you were one and the same, Sam.
Yeah,
I
think that's good. But I'll probably have to start asking you to do a lot of my talking for me. I feel like you made that sound better than I could have.
Really?
I think so.
I mean, look, I'm always here to defend, but once again, that also comes with a fee. And if you'd like to talk to my publicist after this is all said and done.
I kind of blew the whole 2019 Not Sam budget on this
interview. I figured.
Yeah.
I figured.
Yeah. Well, look, MJF, do you have a highlight? Are you the type that goes back and looks at a year and goes like, yeah, that was the highlight, or that's what I reflect upon? Or do you just constantly move forward?
It's hard to take a step back when you have a rocket pack just strapped on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do.
Just being able to look back with all the intensity, it's a struggle. It's a struggle for sure. But when I do have the time, and I don't have much time, Sam, as you know, I'm a very busy human being.
Super busy.
But when I do have the time to look back, I think to myself, okay, MJF, you are quite possibly... let's scratch that. I'm being humble.
Modest.
I'm honestly, I am. I'm being very modest. You are the youngest and fastest rising star in professional wrestling today. I mean, going into this year, 2019, it's very reminiscent of when I was just getting out of high school when I played football. Not that was all that long ago, but I'm 22. Just in case you didn't know. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
It's younger than Leo Rush.
The bottom line was I had a lot of offers and a lot of scholarships thrown my way, and I could have went anywhere I really wanted to go. I had broken pretty much every single tackling record there was, not just in my school, but in all of Long Island. And I find myself in that exact situation now. Everybody's asking on social media, on all these platforms, MJF, he's been everywhere. What is he going to do next? There's all these different promotions that are potentially offering him contracts. You know, I'm saying potentially. And there's so many different avenues I can go, and everybody wants to know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And the newsflash is it's none of your business. But you will most certainly find out. Because that's just how it works, right?
Yeah,
You're just going to see me pop up somewhere and you're going to go, oh, okay. But
that's true. That's the way it worked for All In. I didn't know you were going to be on All In, and then all of a sudden there you are on pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's how I operate. You know, a lot of people, they don't understand the significance of mystique, and with mystique comes silence. If I go around and I go, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and you better believe this is happening next. No, that's not as exciting as when I pop up, because I could literally pop up anywhere, in any company, on any part of the planet.
Uh-huh. So you're saying what you're known for is not talking?
Well, now hold on a second. Not talking and not giving away my next move.
I see.
I move in silence, but once I get to that destination, yeah, I'm going to be screaming about it at the top of the rooftops.
I see.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
100%.
A lot of people, they like to go, this is happening, that thing, one and the other. I don't do that until it happens. And once it does happen, yeah, I'm going to talk about it because I'm amazing at what I do.
Now, let me ask you. You're a young man, as you just said, 22 years old. It's crazy to be in the position that you're in at your age. You trained at did you train at, was it Create Pro when you trained there?
Yeah, Create Pro Wrestling with Pat Buck and Curt Hawkins.
Right. So, and that was, you're the first big, or you're the biggest star, I would say.
I mean, yeah.
To come out of Create Pro for sure.
Landslide. But, you know, we don't want to disrespect the rest of the people that go there.
Of course not.
I will tell you this. Create Pro Wrestling, if you live in the metropolitan area, there is no other option to go as far as wrestling schools go. I would not be in the position I'm in today without Create Pro. And that's a fact. Granted, did I have this God-given talent to grab a microphone and make people not just go to the edge of their chair, but to fall off of it and break their ass? Yes, I already had that. But I needed to understand how to acquire the skill bell to bell, which now everybody can obviously admit and agree that I'm one of the best, most well-rounded professional athletes in the sport today. And honestly, you have to give it up to Curt Hawkins and Pat Buck at the Create Pro Wrestling Academy.
Absolutely. I will say, until I'm blue in the face, Curt Hawkins is a lousy action figure collector, but a great pro wrestler and trainer.
I don't collect children's toys, but I'll take your word for it.
Right. You keep your money. You buy things like cars, expensive clothes, things like that, giant houses. I get that.
If I want to get risky, maybe a penny stock, but really not much more than that.
Right. That's your idea of a wild time.
I mean, that's a fun night out, if you ask me. I don't know about you.
I see. So how long are you at Create Pro before you start realizing that the people at Create Pro start realizing, like, wow, this is moving really fast for this kid?
I mean, probably right away. I mean, I really took to it like a fish takes to water.
And how old are you when you started?
For me. I started when I was 19.
Again, we're talking 3 years ago.
Sure. I've been wrestling now for 3 years.
And that's like no time based on what you've accomplished.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's a no-brainer. I mean, look at me, listen to me talk, watch me wrestle.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened when I stepped through the hallowed halls of CAP. It became very apparent to both of my trainers that God put me on this planet for one particular reason, and it was to become a professional wrestler.
So when you're training like that and you start advancing quickly, how do the other students in class react to that? Like when they go, does this make them insecure? Are they just like, cool, we're glad to have somebody good in class? Like what's the vibe like?
Look, jealousy is going to happen organically.
Yeah.
Did I have a Lambo or two keyed because I'd tell people I was clearly the best in my class? Maybe.
You told them that.
Look, do I look like a liar to you, Sam? Am I somebody who would ever lie or go by? No, I'm always very upfront and very honest. And that's what I would do. So look, at first it was a bit of a bumpy ride, but once they realize there's really nothing you can do about it, you kind of just grin and bear it.
So does that happen where they go, because when you meet somebody who's, I was going to say with an ego, but I'll say respectfully, who's confident in their abilities, especially at a young age.
Yeah, I hate that word ego. I just never quite understood it.
If
you're good, you're good. It's just that simple.
But when you meet somebody who's confident in their abilities at a very young age, there are people, especially if you're peers with that person, waiting for them to fall on their face. I don't want to be around that person, almost wanting to sabotage that person.
Yeah, the issue is I have perfect balance. I'm incapable of falling down.
Well, that's the issue, is that eventually, if the skill starts to back up all these statements being made, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be people, and I think that's where ego kicks in, is the people that show up and they start doing all the talking, but they don't have perfect balance.
No,
and
can't
they
back
do
it
fall
up.
on their face, and I'm sure you've seen that before.
It's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad. It truly
Yeah.
is.
Because you don't relate to that.
And I never could.
Right.
I mean, I was literally born and bred just to be better than everyone else. And that's not me like attacking you, the viewer or the listener. It's just straight facts.
I see. So you played football in high school.
Yes, I did.
Did you think that you were going to do that professionally?
What had occurred was I had been offered all these pretty much full rides. I had went to a school, which legally I cannot name.
Why not?
Unfortunately, what had occurred was I had went to the coach, and I said, this isn't for me. And he well, we're thinking about starting you as a freshman. This is a very big deal. Don't you understand? And internally, I knew what I had to do. And what I had to do is professional wrestling, because I grew up watching and idolizing guys like Ric Flair, Roddy Piper, Tully Blanchard, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. The list goes on and on.
Which is, by the way, an amazing list for somebody your age.
Sure, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Most 22-year-olds are not sitting there with Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert tapes.
We'll get to the issue with people of my generation later on.
Oh, good.
And what occurred was the coach wasn't too happy. So he said, well, we can't allow that. And in walked a 6'7", most likely, offensive lineman. Let's just call him Sal, because obviously I can't legally say his name. And he followed me around everywhere. And eventually what it come to was I had to wait at very late. We're talking like incredibly late. He finally went to sleep, and he followed me for 2 days straight, wherever I went. Bathroom, locker room, if I was going to go hang out with a girl, he followed me everywhere. So I just waited. I got in my car, and I drove all the way home, got out of my car. I looked at both of my parents, and I said, hey, I'm going to be a professional wrestler. Obviously, both their responses as Jewish parents wasn't, oh, great.
Right.
That's fantastic.
Right. Because you're not going to them, because the beauty of football is that you don't have to convince your parents I'm going to be a pro football player. You're going, I'm going to play football, but in their minds, you're getting a free education.
Getting a free education, precisely. Right. So now I was trading getting a free education, according to my mother, to get hit in the head with steel chairs and barbed wire, what have you. But I think it became very apparent to them, just like it became very apparent to anybody else who was in my life when I started training, that they had nothing to worry about.
Because you were taking it very, very seriously from the jump.
Absolutely, incredibly seriously.
And you had to, right? Because there's that thing about like having nothing to lose is not always a great thing. Like when you've gotten yourself to the point where you have a lot to lose, in the sense that you have your entire pride to lose. Here's what happens. If you fail at wrestling, you've made the stupidest decision in your life. If you don't fail at wrestling, you've got this amazing story of knowing that you were bred to succeed.
Absolutely.
And so you've got no choice but to succeed. Otherwise, you're a fool.
Well, let's not like act that I'm like some blue collar schmuck that doesn't have money in the back, just in case this doesn't all go.
Oh, good.
Go
okay.
right.
Okay.
But yeah, you could say I'm an American hero. You can say I'm living the American dream and following it. Yeah,
an American hero with a trust fund.
Absolutely.
See.
You know what? I couldn't have put it better myself, Sam. I'm liking you. I'm liking you.
Good.
You're not an attractive man.
Okay, you didn't
by
need
any
to bring
means,
that up.
But I like you.
Yeah, we didn't need to for sure go there. But so how far into training did you feel like I'm ready to start wrestling? Because really, there are people who spend 3 years training before they have any real matches of note.
Which is very accurate. There are a lot of guys that I have come around on the independent level, even when I do TV, where they said, we didn't even have our first match until we were 2 years, 3 years in. I had my first match when I was 3 months in. And it was amazing.
Great match.
So, dude, it was amazing. Honestly, if we want to get serious, I would look in this camera and say my first match is probably better than most people's, like, 200.
Who was the match with?
I was in a tag team match. It was me, and at the time I was tagging with a guy by the name of Bear Bronson.
Okay.
And we were tagging against 2 students who quit, because that's what happens in wrestling. And it was a great match. And then like 2 months went by, and they were just like, wrestling's hard, and they quit.
But that's evidence that it's not like you were in this match with somebody that was able to carry you through a great match.
No. It was all very, very, very new students. Yeah.
Wow.
Which is, that to me is really intelligent by Hawkins and Pat. Because if you throw somebody in there with somebody who's this amazing talent like myself, and they're just I'm not going to say helping you succeed, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to win. We're all trying to make money.
Of course.
But still, you might be taking it easier on them because you know they're new to the sport, and you're looking to beat them, but you're not looking to murder them.
Mm-hmm.
But when you throw somebody into the trenches, into the big deep blue without, what the heck is that thing called?
Safety net?
I don't. Is that what it's called?
For
water, a safety net? No, you put on this big jacket thing.
Look, I'm not a scuba diver. Remember, I'm last professional broadcaster.
Yeah, honestly, Sam, you and I both. I've never gone scuba diving.
Neither for what?
I don't get it.
We have hard land to walk
now,
on.
Skiing and luge.
That's your
That's
thing?
another thing.
You like that? You like
That's
winter
another
sports?
thing.
I see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But back to the topic at hand.
Yeah.
When you throw somebody in that scenario, they only have two options.
Mm-hmm.
You can swim. You could swim elegantly, or you could drown and die. And I swam like an Olympic gold medalist.
Right.
You know? And some people just don't do that when they dive deep in.
Right. You just happen to be able to have that skill.
100%.
So when do you start leaving training and going, okay, I'm a full-time wrestler now?
See, it was interesting for me. Year one, while a lot of stuff did happen in my first year of wrestling, it was a lot of me getting in my car and driving to these shows, which is a joke because I didn't want to offend anybody, so I didn't take my Traveler jet. I got in these cars, I drove to these shows, and I showed face. And I would help around as much as I possibly could. Granted, I would hold a broom and like pretend I was sweeping.
But you're not going to...
To the naked eye, it
Right.
looks like I'm doing something, Sam. And
But you're not bred for manual labor.
Jesus Christ, no.
It's not where you come from.
No.
Right.
No.
Right.
Does
right.
it look like I am, Sam?
No,
Please
you
don't
look
offend me.
fantastic. You pulled up in your Beamer. I mean, it was amazing.
And what would happen is they'd give me an opportunity, and I would go in there and I would kill it, and then they'd say, okay, we're going to use this guy on a regular basis. That happened in a ton of different promotions in the Northeast, and then it floated over to the Midwest, and now it's pretty much floated over everywhere.
Right. So it was just the reputation built very, very quickly.
Yes.
Wow. And at what point did your parents start to go, okay, because it's one thing for parents to say, he's good at this, he's taking it seriously. It's another thing for parents to go, he could make a living doing this. This is a life that he could do. Have they gotten there yet?
Well, now I am making a living off of it.
Right.
So now they don't have an issue with it at all. Yeah.
Right.
They're completely on board, which is pretty crazy. I mean, I'd have to give a shout out to my parents. They raised an amazing kid, obviously.
Right. I was just thinking
But also the support that I have. A lot of people, and again, this is something that jealousy might come behind of, a lot of people don't have that support system. A lot of people don't have two parents that look, were they hesitant? Absolutely. I think anybody's parents would have been, especially somebody who grew up the way I did. But they're now backing me 110%. They want to see me succeed, and they love the fact that I'm loving what I'm doing. And it's really cool to have that support system.
Yeah. And I would imagine seeing you on pay-per-view was kind of...
Well, my parents were in the building for
They
all.
were.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so when they see you doing that, is that clearly they haven't seen you because you haven't done anything on that scale.
Sure.
But when you're able, tell me about that scale. When you go out there, you've had all this training, as it were, and by training I don't mean school, I mean all the matches that you've had. But they've all had crowds of various sizes, but nothing remotely comparable to 10,000, right?
Sure.
10,000. What would you say is your biggest crowd you've performed in front of before 10,000?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I had done Janela Spring Break prior to that, and I had
So it's a what,
MLW
2,000,
shows.
3,000?
Yeah, 2, 3.
Okay.
Maybe like there's some WrestlePro shows that legitimately, if you pack out that Rawway Rec Center, it's a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
I had done big shows, but to that magnitude, it was interesting sitting in the locker room with guys who have been wrestling 10, 12, 15 years at All In. And they were saying, holy shit, this is a lot of people. And I'm sitting there like, okay. So
You didn't really think about it.
I don't know if I was trying not to think about it. All I was concerned with was showing the world who MJF is and what MJF's all about.
Now, do they, at All In, are they talking to you about where cameras are and playing to this camera and that camera? Like, is that something you're aware of?
I had one discussion, and it was with Cody Rhodes. And I had walked up to him. This was before the match. I said, is there anything you would like from me, specifically? And he said, I brought you here for a reason. And that was the conversation. He said, just stick to the amount of time that is allotted. If you go over the time. I don't care. I'll have the ref ring the. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that was a speech that was given to anybody.
Right.
And after the match was over, I walk up to Cody. I go, "Did you see it?" He stopped me again. He goes, "Brought you here for a reason." So I was like, okay. And it's crazy that somebody like him and somebody like the Bucks were willing to give me that opportunity, and B, had that trust in me, considering I've only been doing this for 3 years, which is telling, but it's also telling of their character,
right,
and them as human beings. That opportunity meant a lot to me, but that opportunity was earned, and I think that a lot of people might struggle with that, but I was like killing my. I have literally wrestled nearly every single top tier independent promotion in the world. US now, UK, Canada. I've been all over the place. But like the most goosebumps I ever had, because the second my music hit, my match wasn't announced. The second my music hit, and the second they showed the Burberry Tron with MJF on it, they rained down boos.
Right.
Rained them down. They knew damn well who I was.
Well, that's what, and I was watching, and we did a post show. I was watching with Pat Buck, and we were watching at home, and I pointed out to Pat, whatever, we agreed that what was great about that is that even 3 years in, you were able to communicate to not just the audience, some of whom knew you, some of you did not know who you were, but the audience at home, and I would assume the audience at home, a lot didn't know who you were. But immediately we know who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, what's the story being told. Like, we know.
I don't think I'm a bad guy, Sam. But
I don't think so either.
Okay.
But we understood why there was an attraction to booing you.
Absolutely. And that was my thing. I was like, what is going to happen when my music plays?
Right.
Are they going to know? And there was a rain of boos before I go through the curtain. And once I went through the curtain, for the people who might not have been aware, I got them to understand what I'm all about real quick.
Right.
Real quick. And that's something I've always took great pride in. And back to the generational thing, I think there's this weird struggle now where I can, if you walk up to me and you say, MJF, what are you all about? I'm going to say, you know what I'm all about? I'm all about being better than you. That's it.
Instantly.
If I walk up to somebody in my age group, my demographic, my experience level, and I say, what are you all about? They're not going to have an answer. They don't know who they are yet. Which, you know what? Cool. You know, it's wrestling is supposed to be a carnival act. You're supposed to have every single flavor of ice cream, and it's awesome. But if every single match is super kicks, which, by the way, why are you doing that? Because the Young Bucks are already doing it. They're doing it better than you.
Right.
If every single match is a Canadian destroyer, why are you doing that? Petey Williams is
already doing it.
You know, if every single match is cutters, you know, I've heard Randy Orton. That was a pretty good cutter. I don't know if you've heard of the guy.
Yeah. He's great.
It gets boring.
Right.
And that's why.
And it's almost like you're cheering for the move, right? Like when a young guy throws a super kick, it's almost like if you're cheering for the Young Bucks.
Sure.
When a young guy throws a cutter, you're cheering for the Randy Orton's move.
If a chop is thrown, what do you hear?
Woo.
You hear woo.
Right.
You don't hear go guy who just threw that chop.
Right.
You hear woo.
Right.
You need, and I don't understand why nobody understands this. I'm one of a kind. I'm a gem.
You are.
I'm not trying to be anybody.
Right.
And I think everybody should try to pattern themselves after that. Everybody should be their self, turned up to 100. I hate to quote Steven. I hate Steven. But that is a quote he said, and it's completely accurate to me. And that is something I pride myself in. I'm not going out there to entertain you. Allow me to make that very clear.
Wow.
I don't care what you think.
Wow.
I really don't care. All I care about is winning and making my money. I'm not going out there to be Circus Soleil. I'm going out there to win a match.
Right.
And that's what I loved about guys like I mentioned earlier, Piper, Flair, Tully. I mean, I can go on and on. Chris Candido. There's so many people who have influenced me.
So when did you start watching wrestling?
Oh man, the first match in full I ever saw. The first blip I saw was like a SmackDown show, I think, and I saw like Kane, kind of. And this is me trying to remember. I was like 6 or 7, right? But then after that, I was so enamored by it, and my uncle had put it on the TV when we were over his house for dinner. Alan Weissman, how are you doing? And I said, I grabbed him, and I'm a small, young man at this point. I grabbed him. I said, "What was that? Because I want more of it." And he said, "That's wrestling." And I said, "Oh." And I ran up to my dad and I said, we got to go to Hollywood Video like right now. And my dad was like, we're kind of eating here, Max. So like, hold this one off. Okay, Maxwell? I was like, whatever, Dad. And then I went off. I had my caviar and I'm not going to say what else I had. I don't want to offend everybody with what I'm eating.
But you did have caviar.
Yeah. And some steak. You know what? Should I just list off everything that was there? There was some garlic mash and some really solid cream spinach. And all right.
And this is just an average night.
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Come on.
It's impressive.
Yeah. That's how the Friedmans do it.
Right.
And the next day, my dad drove me to Hollywood Video. I picked up this DVD, and there was this scary-looking zombie man on the cover of it, which I would later turn out to be The Undertaker. I had no idea who it was.
At least it wasn't the ECW zombie.
Sure.
Could have been him.
That very well, it could have been him. Very famous, that guy.
Yeah.
Almost, some might say almost as famous as The Undertaker.
I think so. I've got all the DVDs with ECW zombie on the cover.
There you go.
Yeah.
Man of many matches. So I pop in this little DVD disc tape, and I'm like, okay. I look at the back. There's a menu, and it says Hell in a Cell match. I go, that sounds interesting. So the first match I ever watched in full was Undertaker versus Mankind in the Hell in a Cell. So right off the bat, I'm like, this is the most insane thing I've ever seen.
Right.
Both these men are crazy.
By the way, for a guy that would end up wrestling in CZW,
sure,
kind of fitting, right?
Absolutely. And honestly, I remember going into my match with Joey Janela and looking at that top, you know, because we had pretty much fallen off the top of the building. There was I forget how you would even phrase this. You have the bottom floor, and I would just call it the second floor, whatever.
Like a balcony?
Balcony, exactly.
Yeah.
And I looked at that and I said,
the New Jack position.
Yeah. I said, I'm going to throw Joey Janela off this balcony because I hate him and his brain's fried and I want him dead.
Right.
And
he's been in here in the studio, by the way. He sat in that chair.
I'm sorry. You should probably clean this chair.
Okay.
But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. We both fell down at the same time, which is, you know, but I came out unscathed, thank God. And I won the match. Duh. But, you know, there's obviously things in wrestling that you see at a young age that is going to make you like enamored by it. And that match, it totally hooked me in. And then after that, I knew I was going to be a fan for life. And the moment I knew I wanted to be a professional wrestler, I was at Madison Square Garden. It was the very first Elimination Chamber.
Survivor Series.
Yeah.
The Elimination Chamber match at Survivor Series.
Survivor
the
Series.
One that
Do you know
Sean
what
won.
year that was?
I'd like to say 2000. It was the first half of the first decade of the 2000s for sure. And maybe 2003 or 2.
Yeah. I just remember Shawn Michaels with the little Dutch boy haircut and the brown tights.
Yes.
Hard to forget.
Yes.
And he wins the match.
With cowboy boots, right?
Dude.
Yeah.
Hits the pose. And I look to my left and I look to my right, and everybody's standing and everybody's clapping and everybody's freaking out. And I remember tugging my dad, and I look at him, I'm going to go, I'm going to do that. And he laughed. He was like, okay. I was like, all right. And I knew deep down after that, I was like, I can do that. I want to be able to make everyone in a room stare at me and not want to look at anything else. And unlike everybody else in the scene today, you'll see matches, people will be on their phones. That doesn't happen during an MJF match.
Right.
It just won't happen.
Right.
And that's something I take pride in.
That's interesting because about probably 8 years before that Survivor Series, it was probably Survivor Series 2002, so maybe 6 years before that, and Survivor Series 1996, I was there watching Shawn Michaels lose the WWE Championship to Psycho Sid.
Yep.
But I was sitting next to my dad, dressed head to toe as Goldust, and my dad was just sitting there going like, I don't know what
am I doing here?
What am I doing?
Rest assured, my incredibly affluent father had no idea what he was doing here either.
Right.
So you are not alone, Sam. You are not alone.
But how does one go from, okay, it's the 2000s, you know, you're coming in at a weird time because I was a tape trader, and I know that that's right when tape trading started to kind of go away because digital was coming in, DVD was coming in, it was replaced really quickly by YouTube. How does one at your age go from like late 90s, early 2000s, I'm just getting on board with this, figuring out who everybody is, to I know the kind of history that you just listed? Like at what point do you start devouring content? Where do you get the content? What is it?
I just remember I was in this great abyss of YouTube, which happens to everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm watching, you know, stuff of the times, and then out of nowhere, I see like this photograph of a dude in a kilt and he's sitting down on a couch, and his feet are up on a stool, and I'm like, who is that guy? And I clicked on it, and I'm sorry, I don't want to
Go
curse.
ahead.
This guy's chewing gum, and he's being incredibly ridiculously rude, and there's a British guy next to him, and he keeps trying to talk to him, and he's, shut up, you know?
Yeah.
And there's another guy who seems like it might be his boss, and he's trying to talk to him. He's telling the other guy it was all about him. And I was like, oh my God, this is getting me riled up.
Right.
Like, I want to punch this guy in the face.
Right. And I like that feeling.
It's awesome.
Right.
It's awesome.
Right.
And I was like, I want to do that.
Because you recognized immediately, you went one step beyond your feeling of, I want to punch this guy in the face, to, oh my God, that guy just did something that makes me want to punch him in the face.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Then that's a job. That's a thing that people do.
That's not just a job. That's my high.
Right.
People, if they,
right.
If you want to do your thing, man, do whatever gets you going, do your thing. You know what gets me going? I love when I hear stories, and first of all, I've had fans swing on me, which is hysterical because you're all very small and frail compared to me, but I've had fans swing on me.
You're a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I love the idea that there's a guy coming to the show, and he's looking at his friend, he's going, this stuff's fake. I don't care about this. This is BS. Sitting down, he doesn't care about any of the matches. He's on his phone the whole entire night. And then I come out, and I grab a microphone. And this guy wants to kill me now. This is real to him now, as it should be, because I'm no joke. I'm not fake. I'm genuine. Nobody's more genuine than me. Very clearly.
Yeah.
And this guy wants to hit me so bad, and he goes home, he gets in his car, he gets in his bed, and he's going, I'm going to go to that show again, and I want to see this guy get beat so bad. And then he goes again, and he tells his friend, all these other guys are BSing. That guy's legit, and I want that guy dead. That is what I love about professional wrestling, and I wish more people loved that about professional wrestling. I watch Memphis and Global Force and AWA, and like that's what I watch off the network. Like the WWE product right now is like, yo, anyone who sits on this chair and looks at you and is like WWE, like, okay, dude, it's right now, currently present day. That's the top product.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
100%.
So, but for me, I always prefer just watching that old school wrestling.
Which is interesting because, like, I get that for me and people of my generation, because part of it is a nostalgia. It's like, this is what we grew up with, so I'm going to turn on Tuesday Night Titans because I remember when I was a little kid, Tuesday Night Titans was on. But for you, who Tuesday Night Titans has been off the air over 10 years before you're even born,
sure.
The fact that you go back and you're like, no, this is my stuff too.
Yeah.
Kind of amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a kind of amazing guy, Sam.
I guess so.
What do you expect?
I guess so. So, you went, well, do you know why you were the guy that the guys at All In selected, other than the fact that you're very, very good? I mean, just the idea that, like, most of the people at All In, you could go, well, either that's somebody that is part of this thing, right? Somebody that they work with, somebody that creatively they collaborate with, they wrestle with, whatever, or it's one of the best non-WWE wrestlers in the world. Clearly, they're going to be at All In. Sure. And you're the one who's like, you get the one spot for a young guy, right? I mean, there wasn't any other.
Me. It was me, and I guess you can count Marco if you count that.
Sure. But Marco, even, like, we know, I think you know what Marco was. Like, he had his match with Janela at Janela's show, and it was like, whoa, who's this? Who's this guy that looks like a little kid? That's amazing.
Who's this frail little boy?
Right.
Everybody wanted to know who the frail little boy was.
Exactly.
Yes. And now the frail little boy's leg's broken.
Well, that's what happened.
Yeah, because he was a frail little boy. Marco, if you're listening to this, don't get hot. It's the truth. You're very tiny.
Okay.
But
well, he's invited to respond in any.
Well, I would love him to. I would love him to. I wrestled Marco before he got injured, actually. Yeah, and I absolutely beat him to a.
Did you mop the floor with him?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh God,
yeah.
Sam. He's an infant.
I see.
He's a small little boy.
I see. I guess that'll do it.
If he came out through the curtain with a lollipop, you would be confused and you would go, "Whose child is this?"
That's true.
That's Marco.
That's true.
But to answer your question,
right?
I was at a show in Canada. Honestly, the number one promotion in Canada, in my opinion, is Alpha One.
Okay.
And I was at that show, and Cody Rhodes was on the show, and I suppose Cody must have watched my match. And after that, he had just stayed in touch with me randomly or sporadically.
Mm-hmm.
And one day through DM on Twitter of all things,
Go for it.
he was like, "Hey, are you busy on this date?"
And you're like looking at the calendar going like,
Oh, that date? Yeah. I got a lot of things going on, Cody. Don't know if I can. No, yeah, I'm available.
yeah.
And that's how it went down. Cody after the show on JR's podcast, which also meant a lot to me, because he has been a mentor to me. On the podcast, he said, if there was one person that impressed me the most, it was MJF, and that meant the world to me. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure I impressed pretty much everybody else. But I
was impressed.
I don't really care about everybody else's opinion. There's a handful of people's opinions I care about.
Right.
He's one of them.
Right.
And that meant a lot. And it also meant a lot that before the show even happened, he said I reminded him of a younger him on one of those the All Elite videos. Or no, it was Cody went off. He had his own thing. It was what was Cody's?
Right.
Cody
That they were
on
doing
YouTube.
with Dave Lagana, right? That the
Yes.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, here we go. And ever since then, it was honestly, it was crazy before that with the bookings, but after that, it was totally gangbusters.
So when you start doing CZW pretty early in your career,
Yes.
Did you ever? I mean, first of all, how familiar were you with deathmatch wrestling? Because for me, I'm a teenager in the late '90s, early 2000s. I mean, I had the first 3 CZW VHS tapes from the website. I watched all the Japanese stuff, so I grew up when kind of deathmatch wrestling got that boom.
Sure.
How familiar with it were you?
I hated it.
You did.
Hated deathmatch wrestling. I, especially being a fan of the old school way.
Right.
It's disgusting to me. And I still hate it. The Undertaker and Mankind match to me was different. There was a story truly being told. This man had to overcome every single odd imaginable, and he still kept getting up to his feet by some grace of God. He was a madman.
Right.
But I could comprehend everything that was going on, and I could sink my teeth into it, and it even made a guy like me, as despicable as I am, kind of rooting for Mankind.
Right.
Kind of rooting for him a little bit. Not going to say more than Undertaker, because I do enjoy watching people get beat up, especially bigger, thicker people.
You like that?
Oh my God, yeah.
But it becomes impossible to not cheer for this guy.
Exactly.
Right.
But a lot of stuff I've seen from deathmatch wrestling, and not all of it. There are some people who have mastered that craft.
Sure.
But unfortunately, it put a sour taste in my mouth before I got involved in wrestling, because it would just be guys hitting each other over the head with light tubes for like no earthly reason, and tombstones off like the top of the ladder through like 3 tables on fire, and I'm just like, okay.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, and you saw that a lot in the wake of ECW. It's
Sure.
like XPW shows up, and then people start going like, what if we just take the hardest of hardcore that ECW had and just do it every show?
Exactly.
And you're going, well, you can't.
And I still hate CZW. I hate everything about CZW. The fact that I had to hold that title, I only came there because I wanted to help them.
Yeah.
They needed fixing.
I see.
The place was in complete turmoil.
Right.
I remember walking up to Triple Chin G-Day Hyde, and I said, look, Lariat God, this company's gross. Everyone in here looks like they have HEP.
Wow.
And we need to clean this place up a little bit.
Yeah.
How about we put somebody on your roster that when you put on a poster, people aren't going to gag?
Oh.
You know what I mean?
That was the pitch?
That's all I needed to say.
Okay.
And DJ's response was, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it was honestly after that that is how I got associated with CZW. I was never truly a big fan of the product.
I see.
I'm a fan of me when I was in the product.
You like that?
Obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
Are there any? What was the most brutal thing that you did over there? Was it the Janela jump off the balcony?
Janela match, and they cornered me and offered me money that nobody would ever say no to do Cage of Death, and I was about to do Cage of Death against Ricky Shane Page, a guy who I hate, but I will give credit to and say he might be one of the most underrated independent wrestlers on the scene going today.
But you don't like him.
No,
he's
fat,
right?
But he's okay at wrestling.
But
he's fat.
I see.
But what occurred was I had wrestled a match with Sami Callihan at AAW, and I broke my elbow. So I could not do that matchup. Thank God.
You don't sit there going like, oh,
I don't think they're going,
Cage of Death.
Oh no, rats. You know what I mean?
You don't go Cage of Death. I hope I rotate back there because that's the one thing in my career that I didn't get to do.
Yeah, and as I was in a brace at home watching Cage of Death, it was Mance Warner versus Ricky Shane Page. I was sipping on wine, just smiling ear to ear because I was not involved, but I got to enjoy it. And I can assure you, the matchup that Mance Warner and Ricky Shane Page had at Cage of Death was. I'm sure fans would appreciate that one more than what they would have got from me, because what you would have got from me was calculated, intelligent decisions. If somebody was running at me with barbed wire, I would move out of the way.
Right.
If somebody set up glass in a corner, I would kick it and break it. If somebody
you break it with your foot.
Yes.
Yeah.
What am I, an idiot? If somebody went to the top of the cage and tried to jump on me, what would I do, Sam?
Roll out the way.
Yes. You were much smarter than you'd look. I'd roll out of the way.
Yeah.
So
I just love the strategy of just somebody sets up the glass, you just break it.
break it.
Yeah.
What? I never understood. Just
Right.
stand up, kick the glass,
Stop it.
just stomp it out.
Right.
Well, now what, idiot?
Right.
You know?
Right. That makes way more sense
But
than
I
just
digress.
falling through it. No, I mean,
Yes.
at least you go in with strategy. You know?
100%.
At least you go in with strategy. So do you have any 2019 goals? Do you sit there and go, well, we look at the landscape, and I would say Ring of Honor is in a space where they're rebuilding in the sense that, you know, the Elite and the Bullet Club are not going to be there anymore.
Sure.
You're looking at Impact Wrestling that's completely rebranding themselves, and I think still in that process of figuring out who and what they are in I think a good way.
Sure.
Obviously, All Elite Wrestling busts onto the scene this week, and then there's always NXT and WWE.
Sure.
Doing what they do pretty well still.
Heard of them.
So
Here's my thing. I feel like the prettiest girl at the ball.
right. You also have a unique opportunity, right? It feels to me like now more so than ever.
It's up to me.
Even though there's not like the big WWE or WCW, blah, 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 smaller organizations are signing people to exclusive deals, whether it's fully exclusive or just exclusive in the States or whatever it is. There's a lot more exclusivity going on in promotions than ever before, which isn't necessarily a good thing in the sense that you right now get to go and wrestle all over the place, right?
Sure.
And get better every time. And maybe being locked down to a single organization wouldn't be the best thing to do at 22, right?
You have no idea what I'm going to do, but as I said, every day I feel like the prettiest girl at the ball as I ascend into the early stages of 2019. All of these companies are very much so interested in certain people.
I see.
And I'm never going to, as I said, I'm a man who walks around like a ninja silently until a deal is done, and
You're
then
not gonna say
I'll be screaming at the rooftops.
Right.
But I'm not saying anything right
So
now.
if I asked you,
Sure.
do you know whether or not you're even on WWE's radar? You wouldn't tell me.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Right.
I have no idea if I'm on Impact's radar. I have no idea if I'm on Ring of Honor's radar.
Right.
I have no idea. And that's the thing, is you guys get to have the blast and the fun of all time of watching a prodigy in 2019. Where's he going? What's he doing? Where's he going to go next? What is he going to do next? It's an exciting time.
It is an exciting time. It's a very exciting time.
And I'm not the only guy that's in the position that I'm in. There are plenty other guys. Look, I'm not going to say there's anybody that is as talented as I am, but there are other guys on the independent level right now that are in a very similar position.
Who is your favorite opponent that you have had the pleasure of sharing the squared circle with? Or the displeasure?
Well, I've never really enjoyed wrestling any of these professional wrestlers because a lot of them aren't exactly. Would you want to touch some of these guys, Sam? I mean,
wouldn't.
Let's face the facts.
No, not me. That's why I broadcast.
100%. And I respect that.
Thank
I mean, you also broadcast because you're a very small man, but
Well, yeah. I mean, that would be the other issue is if I try to touch them, I get hurt.
absolutely.
So
There are plenty of names that come to my mind of people that made me look human in the squared circle.
meaning what?
When I say human, meaning not like a god, because 99.9% of the time when somebody's in a ring with me, it's like trying to, I'm trying to think of a good example here. Have you ever tried to lift 558 pounds of sheer weight off the ground while singing the Pledge of Allegiance backwards and jumping up and down?
Have I? No, I haven't done that.
Okay, that's because it's almost physically impossible,
It
right?
sounds extremely difficult.
Very difficult. That's what it's like wrestling me. However,
Whoa, you're the 558-pound.
I'm
you
that
have
obstacle.
to sing to.
I'm
wow.
that obstacle.
Wow.
However, there are people who have made me look human, and when I say
see.
that, there are people who have made me look, so you get it.
Right.
And I'm sure the listener gets, or maybe they don't. It might go over their head because I'm assuming that most of the people that are listening to this aren't exactly all that bright.
Again, not your problem.
Not my problem.
No.
Not my problem.
No.
I'm not paying for their education.
No,
not my
you're not.
problem.
No, you're not. You've made it as clear as you can.
I would have to name guys such as, unfortunately, I'd have to name Joey Janela, even though that guy is so fried. Joey Janela, a guy by the name of VSK, Alex Reynolds, Ricky Shane Page, Ethan Page, Jimmy Havoc, Sammy Callahan. I mean, it really is a struggle for me to try to pick out names in the very small category of people that almost looked equal to me.
Right.
But those are the names that pop up in the front of my head. And then there are also names of people that I watch that I think are talented. Stokely Hathaway, I don't know if you're aware of Stokely
course I know
Hathaway's
Stokely
work.
Hathaway.
I've never wrestled him. I never would wrestle him. We're BFFs.
Really?
But you kidding me? Absolutely. I'm sorry, do you feel like I shouldn't have Stokely Hathaway as my friend? What are you
No,
alluding to
I don't
there?
know Stokely that well.
Okay, most people don't, but you know who does?
Probably.
This guy.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
He's a tremendous talent. There's so many people that I've stepped in the ring with that I had a lot of. Matt Cross as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100% Matt
Of course. Do you have anybody looking forward that you're like, that's a match that I want to have, just whether it's to prove to yourself, whether it's to prove to other people, whether you just think it would be a great competition to display to the world?
Cody Rhodes.
You'd like to have a Cody Rhodes
I would
match.
like to wrestle Cody Rhodes. And Cody Rhodes, I might not be his best friend, but he's my best friend. Let me to make that very clear because of the opportunity that he had.
Got it.
He had in. But I foresee that being a matchup that would equate to a Dusty Flair.
It's quite a statement.
In the coming years. And I think somebody would be able to take a step back, look at that, or Tully Dusty. I mean, there's a lot of different.
Sure.
But I personally feel that matchup would be absolutely incredible. No, I would, dude, fair or square, I wouldn't be up any, there'd be no tricks on my sleeve. I wouldn't be throwing eye pokes. I wouldn't be low blow.
Too much respect for that.
It'd be a clean match.
Right.
It'd be a clean match.
I see.
And it would be fair straight down the middle just to see who is the better man. That's all. That's all. And I think that would be a very interesting match for people to watch.
Now, you have, and I'll tell you how I got here, of course, you know who was the last person on this podcast that I said, who would you want to compete with? And they said Cody Rhodes was David Arquette.
Sure.
David Arquette
bought me a Burberry scarf.
He did.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, I tweeted about it. David Arquette, he hit me up. He said, hey, I'm a huge fan. I responded, everybody is. What do you want?
Right.
And he said, I'd like to buy you a Burberry scarf for All In. And I said, yeah, man, whatever. And I wore it. I wore the David Arquette Burberry scarf out.
That's incredible.
For my matchup, yes.
That's incredible. But he reminded me of Nick Gage, who I believe you also, you have a matchup coming with Nick Gage.
Yeah.
And I have to ask you, is this something that weighs on you? Because to me, like you said, I'm not a physically imposing man. I'm not somebody, this isn't my forte, but of all the people that I would want to be in a wrestling ring with, it feels like Nick Gage would be bottom of the list.
Nick Gage is an ex-con, a jailbird, and a scumbag. And I think anybody...
By the way, I was afraid because he was in Jersey All-Pro. I was afraid of Nick Gage before he went to jail.
Listen, there's no reason to be afraid of somebody who has about as many teeth as they do brain cells. When I walk in to the Inspire Pro Wrestling event, where this is occurring, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in Texas, I can assure you, I already have a game plan. We discussed it. If he tries to hit me with a chair, I'm going to move out of the way.
You avoid the chair.
If he sets up a table and puts me on top of it, I'm going to get off the table. If he sets up a pane of glass, I'm going to stomp on it.
What type of offense, though, are we thinking? There's the defense. What type of offense are we thinking?
Sam,
Yeah.
a good offense is a great defense. You ever heard that phrase before?
I see. Yes, they say that in sports.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's it. When you break enough panes of glass with your foot, and
Now
it's
what?
like...
Because he can't professionally wrestle.
I
mean, he's just a deathmatch guy.
I see.
Are you really going to look at me and tell me Nick Gage is as proficient as a professional wrestler as Maxwell Jacob Friedman?
I'm not going to get involved in all that.
I'm sorry?
I don't. I mean, again, because I'm not a professional wrestler. I haven't been trained.
Sam, Nick's not here. Just allow me to clarify. All right?
It's just this is broadcast everywhere. You know,
Yeah.
I don't need to be involved in all that.
Understand.
You know, this is between you and Nick Gage. I'm happy as long as the people are happy.
But
you know?
to put it lightly, I look forward to bringing the American judicial system to Nick Gage once more.
Judicial system.
Is that not what I said?
You said judicial system.
However I want to pronounce something is the right way for it to be
have
pronounced.
corrected you. That was rude. I'm
Watch
sorry.
yourself.
I apologize.
Watch yourself.
I apologize. But you want to, you want to bring down the long arm of the law onto Nick Gage.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, good luck with that. I think if anybody could do it, I don't see why not you.
Yeah, 100%.
MJF, is there anything that you would like to alert the people to?
What I would like to alert the people is my 2018 was absolutely tremendous.
It's hard to argue, you know, and like I said, we had this conversation in the beginning of this conversation.
Sure.
About ego and confidence, and I would love to sit there because of how confidently you say that and go, it wasn't that great, but it was.
Sure.
You know, no matter whether anybody likes you or not,
Yeah.
you had a great 2018.
Nothing you can say about it,
You
but
can't.
that. However, if you think 2018 was interesting,
I do.
just you wait. Just you wait for 2019, because I am going to blow the roof off of every single idea that people have behind experience levels and age. I am going to change the game. I appreciate what people prior to me have done in my age bracket. However, I am going to make people forget how long I've been wrestling, because they're going to go, this person is uncomparable to anybody who has ever stepped foot in our sport. That is what my 2019 is going to be.
My God, lofty goals. By the way, when one question: when you get injured, right, and you miss Cage of Death, and,
Yes.
and the whole thing, your first major injury in wrestling, was it?
I had a knee issue. I messed my knee up one time
Did it take you out of wrestling?
for a little bit, but it wasn't wild. It was nothing crazy.
Do those injuries, when it's early in your career, I feel like those are the moments where realization starts to sit in. Those are the moments where I think some people go like, you know what, I can't do this. This isn't going to be the first one of these, blah, blah, blah. What are the thoughts when you're young, you got no guarantees, you're just starting to build a little momentum, and you get taken out? We saw it happen to Joey Janela. He was on, he was also there for All In.
Yes, he was.
He was doing all kinds of stuff. He was getting ready for his next big show that had his name all over it. He was on Notsam Wrestling, and then boom, he's out for a year. What does it do mentally? Like, how do you get yourself through an injury when you're at the level that you're at?
For me, what I would say personally and professionally, when it happens, it sucks. There's no other way to describe it, because not only do I love money, I love wrestling.
Right.
But without wrestling, I don't get what, Sam?
Money.
Exactly.
Right. Both things go away. It's either both or neither.
Yes.
Right.
Luckily, as we said, I got money to blow.
Right. There's plenty of money,
But
but you like to earn more.
Yeah, who doesn't like getting more money?
Right.
But to top all that off, it is frustrating sitting back and watching everything happen while you're gone. I was only gone for like 4 or 5 weeks, but still it gets annoying. But luckily, what I can say, that me and a guy like Janela too, I'll give the devil his due. We both are capable at getting people's attention outside of the realm of bell to bell. I am capable of taking to social media. I am capable of making a video of just this, me and you talking, a podcast, an interview. And I'm able to make sure that nobody forgets who I am or my name. So I wasn't nervous. I was just pissed off.
Right.
For another person who might not have the same capabilities, which nobody really does, as I do, with a microphone in front of my mouth, I would have been shitting bricks.
Right.
Because the way, some of these guys get over and get their fan base is by moves. Which, again, I'm not knocking it. We need different flavors of ice cream. But I don't have to worry about stuff when I get injured, because I always can put a microphone in front of my mouth.
Well, it's just good to be you, man.
Dude, you have no idea.
I don't. I wish I did sometimes. I have no idea.
You never will, though. Look at me. Make eye contact with
Okay.
me. You will never know what it's like to be me. Ever.
Bro, I'm 35. I haven't gotten there yet.
Good.
Okay? It's not going to happen for me.
Ever.
It's just...
I'm making eye contact with you because I
Right.
want to make it very apparent.
Okay.
You will never,
Right.
ever,
Right.
be in the same position I'm in, ever. You are going to die knowing that.
Right.
Do you understand that?
And do you mean I might go better, or you're just saying always less than?
Always less than me.
Okay.
Now I'm going to look at the viewer.
Okay.
You as well. Can we zoom this camera in or make a camera cut?
Yeah, here you go.
Here we go.
Go for it.
You will never
Yeah.
ever attain the same exact lofty goals that I have
Right.
at the tender age of 22.
Jesus.
Ever. I don't care if you're 30, 40, 50, or about to break 100. Good luck, because you are going to go into the grave knowing that my name is Maxwell Jacob Friedman and I'm better than you. And you know it.
That sucks. Thank you for joining us, MJF.
Absolutely.
It's been uplifting, to say the least.
That's what I do.
All right, bud. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
We just shook hands, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right.
Do you have Purell, by the way?
Well, we'll get you some.
Okay,
Don't worry
thank
about
God.
that. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.